Hello beautiful, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina and I'm the makeup enthusiast. In today's video I'm doing my Pan That Palette intro for the first quarter of 2023. So last year I did a structure that was it worked for me. I really enjoyed it. I did quarterly projects just to break it up a little bit so I wasn't working on the same palette for an entire year. I've found that when I do that in the past I can get a little bit bored. I end up neglecting all the other face palettes in my collection. So to continue to rotate through my collection and use what I have and what I love and not neglect them, I thought that I would continue on with the quarterly projects. So I'm going to do 4 quarterly projects. I'm going to focus on 2 palettes at a time, the same that I did last year, and I am doing my theme again of something old and something new. If you do want to see my Pan That Palette intro for 2023, then stay tuned. But before we get into the video, if you are new around here and you love watching Project Pan videos, you love seeing people use up the makeup they have in their collection, then make sure you're subscribed down below because I do a bucket load of Project Pans on this channel, and I'm doing a lot of Project Pans this year specifically because I've got a lot going on here in my collection, as you can see behind me here, so I do want to get a lot of use out of what I already have. So if that interests you, make sure you're subscribed and let's jump on into the video. As I just said, I'm going to continue on with my theme of something old, something new. However, I'm going to, for quarter number 1, just to mix things up a little bit, I'm going to do 2 something old palettes. Quarter 2, I'm going to do 2 something new palettes just to keep me on my toes, keep things interesting and just mix it up a little bit more. So I am going to introduce these 2 palettes as my something old. They're both Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes and they're both very old. So we'll start off with this one. This is my Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit. This one's kind of been through the wars. I've done repressing, I've done frankening in here, I've moved the pans around. So there's a lot going on in here, but essentially I have 4 bronzes left in this palette and 1 kind of white powder, like skin toned colored powder. So the skin toned color powder, as you can see, there's like a big pan in the middle there. That's the powder that I use to set my eyeshadow primer every time I do my eyeshadow makeup. So I usually set either like my complete lid or I will just do from crease to brow bone. So that's the color I use for that. The other ones are bronzers that I frankened late last year and I've had to repress them a few times because the first time I did it, it was a bit of a fail. I didn't really do it all that well. So I've had to repress some of them like twice because they've cracked really badly. My goal for this palette this year, like for the whole year, is to finish up the lid setting shade and at least hit pan on one of the bronzers. I don't know whether that's going to happen. I've been thinking for almost the last month, like we're almost at the end of January and I am only just filming this now. I've been thinking for the last month, what palettes am I going to choose, because I've got a lot going on between all my projects at the moment. And one of those being that I want to hit pan on my Too Faced milk chocolate bronzer. So I have that in my Team Project pan, and I also have the Fenty Beauty cream bronzer in my Partners in Cream. So I've got a lot of bronzers kind of going on at the moment, but I thought maybe I'll throw this in, give it a try, see if I can work it. Maybe I might try and use it as an eyeshadow, I don't know. But I would essentially like to hit pan on one of these at some point this year, crossing my fingers and toes, but I do at least want to get the lid setting shade finished. And as you can see, I already have like a really decent amount of pan on it. It's fairly thin around the outsides as well. So I don't know. I'm not confident that I'll have the lid setting shade finished this quarter. If I do, that'll be very exciting. But I think it's definitely possible to have done by the end of the year. And I am also going to bring in my Anastasia Beverly Hills Aurora Glow Kit. Hear me out with this one as well. I honestly don't think I'm going to use this one on my face. I'm going to play around with it and see, but my whole idea of rotating this one in is to use it on my nails. Basically, maybe on my body a little bit, but mainly on my nails. So I'm going to have a play around. Maybe I could use Luna, maybe a clips on my face, But the rest of the colored ones, I'm just going to tell you now, I'm probably not going to use it on my face, maybe as eyeshadow or inner corners, but as like facial highlighters, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to see how I go using this one as like nail polish toppers to turn like cream colored nail polishes into like shimmery nail polishes. That's like my main plan for it. I'm going to play around with that. If I could hit pan on maybe one or two, I'm going to say two, because when I do use products like this, or like eyeshadows, any kind of shimmer product like this for nail polish, I normally can hit pan on them pretty quickly, because you need to use like a fairly decent amount of the product to have it like stick to the nail. So I'm going to have a play around with it, and I will let you know how I went at the end of the quarter. We'll see how we go. But yeah, I'd just like to get some more use out of this one, because it's not something that I really reach for all that often, just because it is the colored highlights. And I dipped my toe into the colored highlighter pool and I jumped out very quickly because it just was not me. So we will see how we go with this one. But that concludes my intro. These are the two palettes. These are the two face palettes that I'm going to be working on for the first quarter. Are you guys doing a face palette focused project this year? Are you going to do quarterly projects like me, or are you going to work on an entire palette for a whole year? I personally prefer the quarter projects. I've found in the last year or so that I really vibe with the like longer year based, but breaking it up into quarters so I can rotate through more of my collection. I just prefer being able to rotate through more of my collection. I find when I focus on one palette for an entire year, so much of my collection gets neglected. So I do prefer breaking it down into like shorter spurts, and that's what I did last year with my palettes, my face palettes, and it worked really, really well for me. So these are my two something old coming in for the first quarter of 2023. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you're new around here and you want to keep up to date on this project and all my other project pans that I'm doing this year, make sure you're subscribed down below so you can get notified when those videos go live. That's it for this video, beautiful. I hope that you're having an absolutely fantastic day. I hope that you are staying safe, healthy, and looking after yourself. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, beautiful.